Broadcasting live from the WGBB World Headquarters here in New York. This is the Big Fat Joey Show with your host, Big Fat Joey.
Hey, Sin. Good morning, Big Fat Joey. Big Fat Joey Show. Biggest thing on radio. What's up?
Good morning. I cannot believe it's the weekend already. These weeks are flying by.
Summer in New York is so quick. It takes forever to get here, but blink, blink, blink. Summer is rocking and rolling. Next week is August 1st. We're back on the air again, as usual. It's also P3's birthday Saturday. Happy early birthday, P3.
I cannot believe it. It's flying. But this weekend was so good because first, Sex and the City is on all weekend.
All weekend on the E channel. It's good. It's good.
And we also had a shopping event. It was a pop-up shop by Bash.
Pop-up shop by Bash, hosted by a friend of ours, Sydney Sadik, national broadcast contributor. It was great of her to include us. We had a great time. You picked up some items.
Yes, I cannot wait to wear my new items.
Also, what a great weekend out east. I guess not only in New York. I think Florida has some of the stuff going on.
But humidity.
Well, besides that, I'm talking about the bull on the run.
Yes, that is unreal because all over Sunrise Highway, there's all these signs saying like animal might be in the road.
Yeah, so last week a bull escaped from a farm. I think it was going to be processed, but luckily for the bull, it escaped. And I think there's that unwritten rule that when an animal escapes, then it gets, once it is caught again, I guess it gets to go to its forever home and live out its life. But yeah, so Sunrise Highway have those portable signs that saying, watch out, animal may be in the road. And it's a big animal. It's like a 1,200,
How can you not find it? I just
pound.
don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got this big bull. It's been a week now. They can't seem to find it. Criminals are caught much quicker than this bull. I mean, this bull is on the lam for a good 5 days now.
Yeah, I just don't understand. And it's so big. Like, how is this possible? And can you imagine seeing that on Sunrise Highway? That's like an Instagrammable TikTok moment.
Man, that's a whole lot of hamburger running around the highway. So, some, crazy signage out east and, just another beautiful day in the Hamptons and, just having a good time. What else is going on out there?
I think we have an amazing show today.
We definitely do. The Hamptons, so much sun and fun, but in between all of that, we put together a little show. And today we have from $1 Million Listing New York,
Tyler Whitman. How fun is he?
Tyler, super fun, super exciting, and a great sport. He played everyone's favorite radio game with Sin, this or that.
Whoop, whoop. And he spoke about Family Feud that was just on.
Survey says, yes, was it last Sunday night on ABC, 8 o'clock. Celebrity Family Feud. It was $1 Million Listing New York versus $1 Million Listing LA. And it was a fun show. I guess you can all catch it on replays on the Peacock Network or on the multiple channels that Family Feud gets repeated on. But it was a great show. And Tyler was one of the people, picked in, I believe they call it the Fast Money Round. At the end of the show, they have two people who stand next to the host, Steve Harvey, and they're asked the same group of questions, and they can't repeat each other's answers. And Tyler was the second one to come up, and he had, I think, 4 out of the 5.
But don't tell who wins in case if someone hasn't watched it.
Well, I just did if they already know.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I just said. All right, well, it's all right. It's still fun to watch.
But we don't know if they won.
It's still fun to watch.
Don't say if they won.
Right, they did go to the round, right? So yeah, you don't know if they won the final speed round up there for cash, but it was fun. Tyler was fun. It was fun watching him on TV. Great sport. A lot of insight on real estate. A lot of insight on how he became a real estate agent. Not even just real estate, a superstar real estate agent, doing his thing in New York City. Love having him on. Hopefully get him back on later on down the road, maybe holiday time. But it was a great interview. And you know what? Everyone loves to play this or that. Everyone's favorite radio game, right, son?
Yes, absolutely. I had a lot of fun. And who else do you have?
We also have on Rohan Mehra. Dear and clear, right to my heart, what this man is doing, what he's done. He's put together something called the Market Line. It is a New York City underground food market. It's in the Lower East Side around Delancey Street. It is called the Market Line. And Rohan, who's the co-founder and principal owner of the Prusick Group, put this together, of course, when? Right before the pandemic hit last year. And we all know what happened when that hit. Everything got shut down. So, you know what? Being a business guy, he also figured out, you know what? To keep this going when we finally do open up sometime soon. And they just did. They just reopened the Market Line this past Thursday, July 22nd. So come on down to the Market Line in the Lower East Side, New York City. But Rohan thought out of the box, and he put together a variety of different financial, what's the word I'm looking for, ways to keep the vendors and the market afloat so that when it finally is able to open, which it did, like I said, the other day, that everyone can come back. As a matter of fact, he has more vendors today than he did before the pandemic. So we have him on discussing all about the Market Line. And you know what? I can't wait to go down there and visit. I love everything about food.
Oh, I'm excited. Anything food, I'm in.
And you know what? It's got more than food. As you'll hear in the interview, there's a bowling alley in there. It's a really a day destination. It's not just something to say, oh, I'm going to pick up some bread and something. It's a real day destination. You know, New York City's underground market. And, you know, it has a culturally diverse group of vendors and foods and fun. And it's just something everyone definitely has to go out and see. So, you know, check them out. But first and foremost, listen to all that Rohan has to say on our interview, because they're down at 115 Delancey Street in New York City. So, without any further ado, up next is our interview with Tyler Whitman, $1 Million Listing New York. All right, everyone, let's welcome to the line, star of $1 Million Listing New York, Tyler Whitman. Tyler, welcome to the Big Fat Joey Show. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. Love the show. Big fan of $1 Million Listing New York. I was a real estate agent in a previous life here on Long Island, so I know what you do every day, and it's just exciting to see it on TV.
It's definitely a wild ride. I will say adding cameras and television to the mix definitely brings the intensity factor in a little bit stronger than usual.
So, first and foremost, how did you become a real estate agent? What made you go to that? Or, you know, what was your real life dream? And you're like, well, I guess this pays the bills, because that's how it seems like a lot of people work. You know, the job I'm doing is a job that seems to pay the bills.
You know what? That's actually, not that many people ask me that, and it's a good story. You know, I moved to New York when I was like 19, 20 years old. You know, I had done like a semester of college and didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So it was supposed to be like a short-term experiment. And I think like in the back of my head, I'm not an actor by any means, but I definitely wanted to be an entertainer of some sort. I wanted to be like a host, an MC, that kind of life. And so I moved here and I was waiting tables at Planet Hollywood in Times Square. and I found a random roommate off of Craigslist who, you know, 15 years later is still my best friend. And he was a rental agent in the East Village. And after I was living with him for a few months, he convinced me to get my license and help him with some of his buildings, just filling them with, you know, college style rentals, you know, nothing fancy. And the rest is history. I found out I had a talent for it, and off I went. And you know, here I am 15 years later.
And you definitely do have a talent. You know, I like the way you work with the clients. You're very easygoing. You know, people, you know, I'm comfortable with you watching on TV, and I'm sure people are as comfortable working with you as their real estate agent.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, I think there was this moment for me that I still check in with pretty routinely, you know, because I see how a lot of like my really successful competitors, you know, it's not like people who don't have great careers, but I look at people who are at like the top of the industry, and a lot of them, you know, they're bulldogs. You know, they go in there, they are aggressive and they fight, and, you know, and that's their style. And I tried to do that for a little bit. It's just not who I am, you know, and the most important thing to be successful in real estate is you have to be authentic. Like, people have to trust you. People have to think you're being yourself. And as soon as I let go of kind of like those stereotypes of needing to be, this aggressive bulldog, and just started being myself and taking care of people and treating people how I wanted to be treated, my business finally took off.
Now, speaking of taking off, how did you get wrapped up with $1 Million List in New York? How did that come to be?
So it happened very quickly, and it was also a very surreal experience. I put out my style of marketing. If you go on like my Instagram, you'll see I do all these quirky videos. I have a lot of, just a lot of material out there. And, I really made a name for myself in the New York City market by almost kind of being the anti-broker and doing a style of marketing that, love me or hate me, it's definitely a lot different than what everybody else is doing. And, and it just started to catch a lot of attention in the business, because at first people thought I was crazy, and then I think people thought it was fun. And, and then I think those videos fell into the right hands, and I got a phone call one day asking me to come meet and talk about being on the show. And it was very shortly after that I got a phone call that I was on it.
You know what? I think when someone says you're crazy, that to me is proof you're on the right path, because most of the things I've done in life, people are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, all right. And it, knock on wood, it's worked out for me more often than not when someone said, yeah, crazy for doing that. And I'm like, all right, let's see how this works. And most of the time it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think, and when you're like filling yourself with a lot of doubt and a lot of fear, like I almost find that's kind of like my calling. It's kind of like, oh God, am I doing this wrong? Am I like an idiot for trying this? And then I'm like, all right, whatever, let's do it anyway. See what happens.
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work out. Now, you mentioned before people, other agents, everyone has different styles. It's a two-part question. Who do you see as your closest competition, and who do you emulate? Who do you kind of like look up to, for lack of a better phrase, in the real estate industry?
That's a great question. I see, I think I've always, even though we're very different styles and very different people, since way before I was on the show, I've always, been a big fan of Ryan, because he kind of like proved that the path I was trying to take was doable, and that you could be successful, because a lot of people felt like I needed to go to a big firm. I need to work at a place that everybody's heard of. And then, I need to act and dress a certain way and market a certain way and like fit this mold, and Ryan was working at Net Seekers, which is not one of the, it is pretty big now, but at the time was not like one of the big names in the city. I work for Triple Mint, which is a company that I helped start, and there were 3 of us a few years ago, and, now there's hundreds of us. But, it was nice for me to see somebody who didn't take the stereotypical path to success in real estate. And for me to have somebody prove to me that it could be done, and so that definitely inspired me to stay the course with Triple Mint and building the company that we've built. And it's just been, when I look back on everything, the Triple Mint story is the one I'm most proud of. I mean, that is just something that gives me a lot of pride, for sure. But in terms of, Ryan and I, outside of the fact that, he did that, we're definitely very different types of people. There is a real estate agent in the city named Brian Lewis. And he's very successful. And he was one of the first ones doing really fun videos. And he still does really fun videos. He's really talented, and he's just such a nice guy. And he's the one that I look at, that I identify with the most, and inspired me to, take a chance and start doing it myself, for sure.
And speaking of taking chances, and you alluded to this before about dressing the part, I see in one of the promo pics you're wearing some sort of sweatpants. Can you explain that to me?
Well, okay.
I mean, listen, we're all working from home, and I put shorts on for you before I was in my tiny whities, but I said, let me put shorts on, even though we're on the radio. But sweatpants, what's the deal?
So, firstly, they're not sweatpants. They are Armani joggers, and I caught a lot of slack for that. I went out to, when it came time and they were saying we were going to start taking all these promo pics, I wanted to wear something that I felt awesome in. And, we have to buy these things ourselves. It's not like they dress us and give us wardrobe options.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went shopping for a while, and I got to tell you, I put on, it's a whole Armani suit, a very expensive suit. I think I paid $4 grand for that suit. And, yeah, but it's like a play on, I think it was kind of an elevated version of the year that we all lived last year of, kind of like this relaxing loungewear, but, it was elevated into a suit. And I still, love it or hate it. I got to say, when I put it on, I feel very sexy, and it's all about how you feel. It doesn't matter what other people think.
I personally think you look great in it. I mean, I definitely think it fits you. It looks good. You definitely look like $1 million on it. And I'm on the same wavelength. Sometimes my wife's like, "What are you wearing?" I said, "Listen, I feel good in it. I think I look good in it. I'm not worried about what anyone else thinks about it." And I go. And she's like,
yeah, it's all about the swagger, baby.
That's it. And I tell her 6'7", 300 pounds, I'll do and wear what I want.
Amen.
And when you're my size, you wear whatever you can find. Actually, it's not what you want. So whatever fits you. You're like, okay, that'll have to work. The purple polka dot shirt and the beige slacks with the orange shoes. Those are the only items that fit me. I guess that's the suit for today.
Amen. I lived that life for a very long time. I was with you.
Yeah, but it's all good. But now you definitely look great in it. And honestly, I had to really look, because I saw all the people comment on. I was like, wait, he's wearing sweatpants. And I had to really look in. I was like, oh, I guess so. I can see a tie on the waistband. And it's like, all right. But it definitely it definitely works. Now, out of all the real estate you've sold, is there one piece that sticks out in your mind? Like, wow, this was either a crazy sell, over the top apartment, whatever, something that really sticks out to you.
I guess there's been a couple. The first thing that popped into my head when you asked that was, back in 2017. So in 2013, I paused my real estate career to start Triple Mint. And I was, in terms of the city real estate agents, I was a no-namer. Nobody had heard of me. I definitely had some moderate success under my belt, but I wasn't one of the heavy hitters in our market. And 4 years after starting Triple Mint, I decided I wanted to stay at Triple Mint, but go back to selling full time and just let the executive team run the company. And there was just a lucky connection right when I launched my sales, about a year into launching my sales team. And Bobby Flay ended up listing his apartment with me. And at the time, nobody had heard of me. I had not really had any notable names or notable success. And, and that was a career changing. It was also a really awesome apartment. But there was tons of press, and it was for the first time I felt like people stopped to notice me, and they're like, "Who's this kid? How to get this listing?" And that was definitely one of those career moments. It definitely, he took a chance on me, and it changed the course of my career forever.
That's great. We love Bobby Flay. Love his restaurants, but yes. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Oh, and by the way, Tyler, my co-host Sin is here with us.
Hi, Tyler. I'm super excited to have you on today.
Oh, hi. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I heard you were doing voiceover, so I hope we get a couple character sneak peeks.
Absolutely. Everyone laughs at my voice all the time. Very Long Island.
I love it.
It's very Long Island.
Listen.
It is very Long Island, but it's got that joyous energy behind it.
Thank you.
Listen, with that voice, we don't have any rats or roaches in the building.
That's for sure. I scare them away. Well, we're gonna play this or that. I'm ready. You ready?
Okay, let's go.
Let's do it.
I was born ready.
Okay, awesome. I'm excited. All right, let's do it. Tyler, here we go. Is it Hamptons or New York City?
Oh my gosh. New York City.
Is it Welcome to New York by Taylor Swift or Empire State of Mind by Jay-Z?
Taylor Swift all day, every day. She's my favorite pop star of all time.
I'm a
Me too.
Swiftie. Swiftie, open house or private showing?
Oh, a private showing.
Absolutely. Is it an
100%.
Is it an all cash deal or a dollar down, a dollar a week program?
Oh, gosh, honey. What kind of question is that?
Okay, here we go. Is it Gray's Papaya or John's Pizza?
Gray's Papaya. It's around the corner from my apartment. I eat there all the time.
I know, and you get like a meal for like under $5, right?
No, but not the way I eat.
And is it Breakfast Club or Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Absolute Bueller.
Bueller?
Bueller.
Thanks, Tyler. I had fun. I hope you had fun.
Did I win? What did I win?
You won. You won saying, yeah. I'm going to say, yay. I'm so excited.
You win another 10 minutes with me on the radio.
Yes. Oh.
Such
All right,
a
then I'll keep
pleasure.
playing all day.
We love you. We love the
Thank you.
show. And the show, it rocks. I love it. We're ready for it tonight.
Now, speaking of
Oh my goodness, you're the best.
speaking of rocking the shows, you rocked it on Survey Says Family Feud. Loved it.
Oh. Can I tell you, that was, and I'm not just saying this, that was like one of the top 5 experiences of my life. I mean, that was so much fun.
It looked like fun. I've been a fan of Family Feud since Richard Dawson, 40 years ago, and all its iterations. But you guys look like you had a great time, all of you. And I see they had the people spaced out. I never saw that before with the, instead of everyone on the same desk, they had the 3 in the front, the 2 in the back, I guess, for social distancing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was wondering why Steve Harvey wasn't standing next to people, because you guys, your show came on second, and the first show I was like, why is he standing like 6 feet away from people? I'm like, oh, duh, you just answered your own question 6 feet away.
Right.
So how was the experience?
Yeah. It was so it was honestly very impressive. So you show up, they kind of prep you a little bit backstage. But Steve Harvey, I mean, that man is a force to be reckoned with. When I watch these shows, I assumed that maybe they would go back in and like edit in some of the jokes because some of them are just so off the cuff and in real time, but it's definitely not the case. And, they take you out there, they put you in position, and then honestly, they film it as if it's live. He comes in and so he came out, and I mean, he was just right to business. And, it was awesome. It was really, really awesome. And I've always been like such a Steve Harvey fan.
I love him.
Does remind me, I say this, people think I'm joking, but I'm not. He reminds me so much of my dad. They have the same energy. They have the same mannerisms. They have the same sense of humor. And, so there's something that I've always had a soft spot for him because of that. And so to get to meet him in real life, because I felt that way for a very long time. So to get to meet him in real life was really awesome. And to realize that he's exactly that guy in person, was awesome.
Now, did you and the team practice before you got out to LA? Did you guys have a little Family Feud in the office practicing?
No. And it was, so when we get there, I had seen the show many times, but, I kind of watch it in passing. And so I was like, I had an idea of exactly how it was played, but they tell you how to play it backstage. And who is the biggest Family Feud fan is Tracy from the LA cast.
Okay. And
Tracy is, she's kind of she's got this drill sergeant energy about her. She's also very funny. But she was backstage, coaching all of us. And she's like, they're going to say this, and then you're going to do that. And she was leading the show for both teams backstage. I love her. But I would say our MVP was definitely Steve Gold. He gave a lot of really strong answers, that ended up ultimately winning us the game.
Yes.
And then at the end, he and I got to play Fast Money, which was maybe the most nerve-wracking moment of my life, because Steve went first, and then while you're waiting, they put you backstage and they put on headphones and blast music so you can't hear anything. And then, and there's like a little producer standing there. And as soon as Steve was done, you know, they take off the headphones and like, your turn, get out there. So I just walk out there. And, you know, that moment when you're standing downstage with Steve Harvey and he's about to start asking you questions, you know, the timer's on but you don't know what questions are coming. The panic that rushed through my body, because I was like, what is he going to ask me? And I was like, oh dear God. I was like, brain, please work. Please be nice to me. Don't let me say anything stupid. And I remember like watching it back, just like reliving that moment. It was a lot of fun. It was like one of those things I'll never forget.
Yeah, I believe you guys won the Fast Money with. Oh, you only needed one. You got when you went. Your first answer was the one that put you over the top, because I think Steve got like 186 points in his round.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if I'm going to pat myself on the back, I will say that we didn't need to get through all of my answers, but I had 4 number one answers.
Yep.
And so I was just like, all right. Listen, turns out I've got a gift for this Family Feud.
It's a great show. Maybe be a talk show host. You know. Now
listen.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh no, I was agreeing with you.
Now, speaking of talk show host, if you had a spinoff for $1 Million List in New York, what would it be?
Okay, I've thought about this a lot. One is probably less realistic, but you know, my side passion, the reason I work so hard is, you know, I love horseback riding and I ride very competitively and I go to shows and I jump. And I've always thought that the drama and the politics and everything that happens behind the scenes at a horse show is such good television. I mean, there's just so many walks of life. There's a lot of uber wealthy people. And then there's some people who are like super chill and super laid back. And some people who are very uptight and pretty obnoxious. And, you know, just all the makings of a good TV show. There's also people who do really, really extravagant things. You know, lots of people flying private from place to place. And lots of drama between the barns. You know, like all the competitive show barns within a community love to talk about each other, love to who's best, who's messing up, which place is a disaster. I just think it would be great TV. That said, unfortunately, I think there's too much high profile money involved in the horse world for people to actually like sign up. So while I think that would be a great spin-off show, I just don't know if it's realistic. One that I've been thinking a lot about lately is, you know, I'm expanding my team. You know, we're in the city. I've got a sales team in the Hamptons, you know, but those I think will probably be the only 2 super luxury markets that I do, you know, and I see myself actually, I feel like the people that I've connected with on the show and the people that respond to my style the most are, people, you know, and kind of like middle America people. And so I want to start expanding my team into kind of these smaller suburban communities, you know, and even starting with where my parents live in Alabama. You know, I've got a huge network there, but, you know, it's a place where the average, you know, it's a very, I would say the average home is like $300,000 there for a very nice home. And, you know, and I picture this show where like I go into these, I'm a big city broker, a big city luxury broker, and I go into these markets and I would picture it like I'm starting with kind of like auditioning my sales team, my local sales team there, where I meet the people who are really established, you know, the people who've like gone through hard times and need a new career, you know, people who, just people who have interesting stories and strong ambitions and great personalities, which is really the story of my New York team and my Hamptons team. And so, you know, kind of building a show about opening within a community, getting to know the community, and centering it around 5 or 6 agents that start my team within that community. I think it could be like a great mixture of real estate show, and also a mixture of like kind of like the vibes of what you get from like Queer Eye, where somebody comes in, helps the community. And I actually think it could be really, really special. And people love seeing that right now. People love seeing inside of people's homes. They love seeing the shows that are being really successful right now are these ones that are kind of like revitalizing communities in interesting ways. And I think that would be a fun show.
That definitely sounds like a great idea. So now, how can my audience find, follow, and keep up with everything Tyler Whitman and $1 Million Listing New York?
So the place I am most active is Instagram. It's the place that I check in multiple times a day. My Instagram is at Tyler Whitman. And you can also find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter sometimes, but if you really want to interact with me and follow along, Instagram is the place to do it.
Well, that sounds great. Tyler Whitman, thank you for being on the Big Fat Joey Show. I wish you nothing but luck, success, and for you to be the listing broker on all the houses sold.
You're the man. I really appreciate you having me on. This is fun. Y'all are fun.
Thank you, Tyler. You are great to have on. Love the show. $1 Million in New York, Thursday nights, Bravo TV, 8 p.m. with Tyler Whitman. Tyler, once again, thank you for being on Big Fat Joey Show. Be well, stay safe, and we shall speak soon.
All right, take care.
Sin, what a fun interview. And you know what? Everyone loves Gray's Papaya. That is my go-to eatery.
Well, I love Tyler. I found out that he's a Taylor Swift fan, and he's just adorable and fun. And I had so much fun with this interview.
It was great speaking with them. Get to learn a little bit about real estate, a little bit about Tyler. He took time out of his busy day and speak with us, and it was great to hear all that he had to say. And you know what? Since he loves Gray's Papaya, that's an extra notch up on the ladder for me. So I love Gray's Papaya. Then a guava drink, it's just heaven. I get 12 dogs in a guava drink. I eat them before I even get halfway through Central Park when I'm driving.
Well, we all have to watch Tyler on the Bravo station Thursday evening,
8 p.m. Bravo TV, $1 Million in New York. Make sure you catch it. All right, everyone. Well, then up next is my interview with co-founder and principal of the Prusick Group and founder of the Market Line, New York City's underground market on the Lower East Side, Rohan Mehra. All right, everyone. Let's welcome to the line co-founder and principal of the Prusick Group and founder of the Market Line, Rohan Mehra. Rohan, welcome to the Big Fat Joey Show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being on. I am super, super excited. Being called the Big Fat Joey Show, I didn't get this big by osmosis. So I'm an eater at heart, and I love what you're doing with the Market Line. But before we get started with all that, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your group, your company, and how it came to be that you founded the Market Line.
Sure. I was born in upstate New York, in Rochester, New York. But I've been living in New York City now for the past 20 years. I came here in 2001 to go to business school and got a job in real estate after that, and started my own company, the Prusick Group, which you just mentioned, in 2007. And our focus was retail real estate development in New York City, which really has a lot to do with placemaking, because in the city it's not, everything is mixed use. You're really looking at responding and reacting to neighborhoods. And then you fast forward to 2013, and the city was issuing this RFP for an incredible piece of property in the Lower East Side that had laid dormant for about 50 years. It was an urban renewal area. It used to be classic Lower East Side tenement buildings. They were knocked down in the late 60s with the intent of building more housing, but sort of political infighting caused it to lay dormant. They're basically parking lots in the heart of an absolutely incredible neighborhood for decades. Mayor Bloomberg sort of pushed it through and created this RFP process where they wanted to see something happen here. And it was my team, 4 companies involved, that put together a response, and we ended up winning it. My company in particular was focused on coming up with the retail plan. What would you do here? Responding to this neighborhood. It was about 2 million square feet of development. And sort of the hallmark of what we did there was in response to a city requirement where they wanted to take the Essex market. Not sure if everyone's familiar with it, but it is the city's oldest and largest public market. It's been around in various forms for centuries, but in its sort of brick and mortar form for about 75 years. But it's been in sort of an older structure, and they wanted to see that move to sort of Main and the Lower East Side, which is Essex and Delancey, and about tripled in size. So we looked at that, and we thought this is a great anchor because you're building all this new housing and office space. We were building a museum and a movie theater and a bowling alley and a grocery store. But we were still going to be this large new development in a historical neighborhood that has seen waves of immigration come in, starting with the Irish and Jewish, Puerto Rican, just this incredible melting pot, really an epitome of New York City. And it allowed you to sort of come in there and have some consistency with the neighborhood. The Essex market had about 28 vendors. We were keeping them all. But we looked at that and said, here's an opportunity to do something in New York that hasn't really existed and really surprisingly hasn't existed, which is a world-class marketplace that's reflective of the diversity of the city. We had 6 acres to work with in all, so we took 3 city blocks that were the most prominent and said if we could connect these and have them sort of build off of the Essex market ethos, we really had something special. And thus was born the Market Line, which at the end of the day, when it finally fully opens, will be a 3-block long market. And with the Essex market will be about 150,000 square feet. So one of the largest markets in the country. The vendors are all small businesses. In the Market Line, we currently have 30 vendors. The Essex market has 41. At the end of the day, we'll be over 100 vendors. Currently, we have 75% of our vendors are women, minority, or immigrant-owned businesses. 50% are from the Lower East Side. About 95% are from New York City. And again, no chains or anything like that. So it's really, really reflective in so many different ways of the local community, which is sort of the difference between a market and what people would consider a typical shopping mall. And in terms of the types of vendors we have, we've got everything from whole animal butchers to an incredible seafood purveyor. We have a taqueria where they make the tortillas on site. We have a Puerto Rican food vendor who grew up in the neighborhood, lived there for 50 years. We have this incredible beer hall that gets beers that nobody else can get, and they source all their food from our other vendors, making it really collaborative. We have Michelin-starred chefs. We have first-time chefs. So really, it's just this perfect sort of microcosm of the city itself. So a great place to visit, and just really a great way to see what the food scene of the Lower East Side is all about.
And you know what? You said it earlier in what you were speaking about. I can't believe that something of this nature has not been put together. You know, when I see things in New York City that happen, I'm like, wow, that's a great, it's such an obvious idea, and it's a great idea. Why did that never happen? I mean, in New York, with all the brain power and all the money and all the people, something of this nature, I'm just surprised how it never happened.
Yeah, it's interesting, and having now had to execute on it, as I mentioned, I've been working on this since 2013. It's just much, much more difficult to execute. If you think about it, I have about 30,000 feet of space currently open. And if you gave someone 2 decisions, they could do one that was sort of easy to execute or someone that would be very difficult, possibly more lucrative. They're probably going to take the easier lift. And I think that's sort of what you've seen. Now, what we had as a benefit here, I referenced, the Lower East Side just being such an incredible neighborhood. People love going out there. The diversity is already there. Putting a market there makes sense. You can't sort of do what we did here just anywhere. You need that sort of reference. Even the Essex market is important. The other advantage we have is, as I mentioned, this is a 2 million square foot project. So when you want to do something like this, it helps if you have that sort of, call it diversity of risk, where you're doing other things like apartments and stuff like that. So if this has a slow start, it's not as big a deal. And, that really helped us as we opened this thing in late November 2019, which, as everyone knows, is about 4 months before the pandemic shut everything down. By virtue of us having all this diversity at the project, we were able to take certain steps, that were very difficult for us to take, but we knew that were necessary.
And, the pandemic, I'm seeing that you were able to assist your vendors, and that's what I'd love to see, that, this opened up right before the pandemic. I mean, you couldn't ask for a worse timing, but how did the Market Line assist its vendors and keep itself afloat so it'd be able to reopen?
So the first thing we did, you're right, it was a very difficult time to open. The end of the year is always a little tough. January and February are typically tough anyway. We were just getting our sea legs, and then the pandemic hit. I mentioned these are all small businesses, so we basically went to the vendors and said, look, this pandemic is coming. It seems like it's serious. Again, March, it was anybody's guess how serious it was going to be. But we basically told the vendors and said, we're happy to figure out ways to stay open safely. But if you guys would rather take a temporary break until things settle, we are okay with that, and we'll abate your rent. With that alone, that offer, I don't think there's many landlords in the city that started out the conversation that way. All but 2 of our vendors wanted to close. 2 vendors wanted to stay open, our wine store, because they sort of saw an opportunity to build brands, keep employees employed. Again, they're small businesses, so their employees are almost more like family members than they are as they might be at a larger chain. And then we sort of, waited as this pandemic just roared. I think there aren't many people who expected to happen what happened. So what we did is we sort of bided our time there. We stayed in contact with the vendors. The Essex Market upstairs actually did stay open because they're deemed an essential food facility for the city. Mm-hmm. So the city has several of these around where people know they can go, and whether it's a natural disaster, with the hurricanes roll through, they have certain places where people know they'll be able to get fed. So they stayed open. Then as different restrictions lifted, we basically tried to respond to those. So, when it seemed like there was a slight lifting in early midsummer, we launched outdoor seating. Everybody was doing that. So we used that as a way for sort of our hot food vendors to be able to take advantage of that. We assisted them in setting up sort of delivery situations. We actually established a Market Line delivery platform through Mercado, which is a service online that's still active. It's actually really great. We're one of the only markets in the country where you can actually do a single checkout from all of our vendors. So it's a good way, you can, if you're not inclined to, support just the Amazons of the world, this is a chance for you to support small businesses, but get the best in quality and things like that. So you can get your tortillas, you can get your wine, you can get your beer, you can get fish, meat, all through a single checkout. So we set that up for them. Summer was a little bit difficult, as I think you probably remember. There's some fits and starts there. We had another peak in August. So then what we started to look at is, okay, we've given an opportunity for our beer hall to do outdoor seating, for some of our hot food vendors to do delivery. We got to do something for our, call it more grocery style vendors. So then what we did is we set up something we called the mini market. And we told our vendors, anybody who wants to be open now, come on in. We'll figure out a way to set up a mini version of the Market Line, sort of centered around this grand staircase that comes down to the Essex Market. And we had about 14 vendors participate in that. So about 50% of our vendors participated in that. And that allowed them to sort of get their sea legs, start making some sales, allowed the Market Line as a whole and all the brands within to feel relevant. But even during that whole period, anybody who wanted to be open, we scrapped their base rent and just charged them a percent of sales. And again, that was to sort of encourage them to take steps, knowing that they had a lot of other stuff going on. Some of them have other businesses. And for the ones that still weren't ready to reopen, they didn't have to. And we continued to abate their rent. Then, you fast forward, and again, these are all small businesses, tons of things going on. A lot of these relief packages were out there. And whether it's just, lack of awareness of what's available, or, a little bit of hesitancy on navigating the process. I'm sure you've heard stories about PPP loans and how difficult it was. And then there was the restaurant relief fund. We dedicated a lot of resources towards sort of holding hands and helping them navigate that process, have someone on my team who knows the restaurant council very well, so she could get sort of specific answers to questions. So we helped them sort of apply for a lot of this money to help them also stay alive there. So we did a lot, definitely much more than any other landlord did. But also, if you're going to say you're going to open a market of small businesses and you're going to build something like this, sort of that world-class market as I described it before, these are the steps I think that are required to be taken. Otherwise, you should just do a strip mall with, a bunch of chains. So totally different approach. And that takes us to today, where we are this Thursday, in fact, opening the entire market line for the first time since last March 15th. And a testament to the efforts that we put in, we are actually reopening with more vendors than when we closed for the pandemic, which, anecdotally, most of the other markets in the city lost 25 to 30% of their vendors. We actually, we lost 2 and gained, I think we're up to +7 now. So we're actually going to open with a bit more vibrancy. The vendors that hadn't quite opened before the pandemic are now opening. We have a bunch of new vendors. It's actually proven to be a great sort of incubator spot. A lot of restaurateurs and chefs whose businesses were forced to close during the pandemic, they pivoted and started new businesses, new products, new things like that. A lot of times they started delivery only, and once they started to get a little business there, they realized, hey, this is a viable business. They came to us, and they would do pop-ups with us, and they would see sort of the benefit of being this incredible collaborative environment, the whole ethos of the space, and what we were doing for the vendors. It's really a great vibe down there. And almost everyone who did a pop-up with us is now coming on as a full-time vendor. So we've also been sort of able to, which markets always are, incubators for the communities in which they reside. It is the place where you spend time. It's not a typical shopping experience where it's like, get me in, get me out as fast as possible. It's more of a place where you shop, you work, you play, you meet friends, you see community, you get to have one-on-one. When you go up to a vendor in my market, you're likely talking to the owner, not the owner. You're talking to someone who knows the owner well and has worked there forever. If you ask them about their product, they know everything about it. They know where everything came from. They know how it's prepared. It's really a great opportunity for interaction, education, especially in a city like New York with so much culture. It's a great way, food is culture, and it's a great way to experience that.
And that's one of the only bright lights I found with the pandemic myself. Unfortunately, my wife and I got sick with it a year ago, 2020. And so we really found a lot of our local vendors. I summer out in the Hamptons, so we were shopping at the local farm stand, in the dirt field. We were shopping at the local mom and pop butcher shop, as opposed to going to the major supermarkets or things of that nature. So and we've kept that going on, and I think we will continue to keep that going on, because now we know the owners. It's like you said, it's the owner or someone who's practically an owner standing there assisting you. It's not just somebody working for a couple of dollars an hour, like, yeah, whatever. You like it, you like a guy. You don't, look, move on. I got other people I got to talk with right now. So I love that, and I love that you understood very early on that since this is a local hometown type of thing, that you weren't going to be just a regular landlord saying, hey, the rent is due on the first of the month. You have it or you don't, you're going to be out. That you understood this is a pandemic. People need assistance, and you had creative ways of keeping everyone afloat, for lack of a better phrase.
Right. The strength of the market is the vendors. It's not the building itself. Obviously, location is always important. But I'm not well served if I have a revolving door of vendors in the space, and I'm really proud of my vendors. Just an incredible mix. Definitely check out Marketline NYC online for the list of vendors. You'll see everything from the oldest dim sum place in the city to Salka, which is a Ukrainian dime investment institution, to these first-time businesses. It's just incredible stuff. The other thing that we saw during the pandemic is that the residential neighborhoods in the city, like the Lower East Side, actually were doing pretty well because people were staying in their apartments. They weren't going to work. So you did, and much like you're talking about being out east and starting to support some of the local small businesses, that's what you were seeing in neighborhoods. I live in Williamsburg, in my neighborhood, in the Lower East Side, and West Village. People were starting to get hyper local with everything they did. You know, they got to know their bartenders better because they weren't as encouraged to sort of bounce all around the city. So I think you're absolutely right. You're seeing a lot more connections on a very local level. You know, people are starting to go back to work, but it's still going to be a little while before everybody's going back to Midtown and Financial District. And I'm hopeful that sort of change in perspective on who to support and where to go and the importance of, you know, your neighborhood spot. Hopefully that continues because that's what makes up the fabric of a neighborhood. You know, if you lose those, then it's not quite New York. It's like some of the other less exciting cities in the country.
Well, I think people will keep with it. I know, like I said, I'm keeping on that line. I've started venturing out into the major supermarkets again, been doing my food shopping per se, because, a lot of the local vendors, you can't get your staples of life, your toilet papers and things like that, your cleaning fluids. But I'm making a conscious effort, and I think most people will, to continue going to the local butcher, the local farmer's market, where you might pay a couple of pennies more a pound for the items you're looking for, but you're speaking with the owner, you're supporting someone local, and you're getting, in my sense, as fresh food as possible. The butcher gets the delivery of the day. The vegetable guy, girl gets the delivery right off their farm. I mean, I was there Saturday, and they were bringing in more broccoli right straight from the farm. They just cut it 15 minutes ago. So I definitely think there's going to be a switch to more people going to a facility like yours, the Market Line, as opposed to saying, well, I'll just get everything in the local big box store. Now, you know what? I'll get my cleaning supplies, but I'll get my fruits, my veggies, my specialty food, the pickles, things of that nature. I'll spend a couple of pennies more, or maybe even less. So a lot of times I've also found that my butcher is sometimes less, if not exactly the same price as the supermarket and meat is fresher.
It's fresher, it's healthier, it's more sustainable. Things are locally sourced. There's less waste. All that stuff, all the stuff that I think is becoming more and more important in the public consciousness. And that's why I think it's survived in other communities around the world. The idea of the local markets being the hub of commerce is everyday life in Europe.
Yes.
A little bit different. We're a little more car focused in this country, understandably. But I think that sort of ethos, people are seeing that connection. You're right. There may be a difference in sort of the money side of things in terms of cost. But like you said, it's a different approach. And when the owner, they can also help you out. Like, hey, you don't have to just get the bone-in ribeye if you're grilling. Of course, that's going to be the expensive cut. But they can, teach you about new cuts, teach you things you didn't know.
Exactly.
That you wouldn't get out of a grocery store necessarily.
Exactly. They always have those little recipes, and yeah, why are you spending, X dollars a pound if you're telling me you're going to be making meatloaf? You don't necessarily need the top chop meat. Let's get this little less expensive one, and it'll serve you just as well.
Right.
Now, Rohan, one more time, how can my audience find, follow, and keep up with everything The Market Line?
All right. Well, the best way to keep up with us is probably on Instagram. Follow The Market Line. We have a great website as well, marketlinenyc.com. And that sort of will give you a good introduction. We are located in the Lower East Side, very easy to get to, right over the Williamsburg Bridge from Brooklyn, right at the Essex and Delancey subway stop, which is the JFM and Z trains. We're right below the Essex Market. So you can look up the Market Line on Google Maps or look up the Essex Market. You enter the Essex Market and you go downstairs, you are in the Market Line. And again, we are opening fully starting 7 days a week, starting this Thursday. So come on out and support. Generally open at 8 a.m. and open till midnight or 2 a.m., depending what day of the week it is. Incredible collection of vendors, great place to eat, great place to drink. And make a day of it. We have an incredible movie theater upstairs. We have a bowling alley across the street. We have museums, just it's a nice way to spend the day. But yeah, just support local, support small. I think that's the biggest message here.
And I love that. You have a movie theater, you have a bowling alley. So it's really a day destination. It's not just saying, oh, I need to get some meat, some potatoes, some pickles. You really can spend a day. So, you know, everyone, the Market Line, check them out. Support your local vendors. Even if you're not in the New York City area, you're on Eastern Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, wherever you're hearing my voice, support your local food vendors, your local vendors in general, clothing or what have you, because they are the fabric of the towns. They are what makes, you know, everything, you know, small town America and makes it, you know, fun and enjoyable. Well, Rohan Mehra, founder of the Market Line, thank you for being on the Big Fat Joey Show. I wish you and the market nothing but luck and success in all that you do.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yum, yum, yum. I can't wait to get down there. What Rohan is doing, bringing together the Market Line and getting it out there in the face of the New York City people is awesome.
Well, I'm excited. Count me in, because anything to do with food, I'm in. So I cannot wait to get down there.
I'm already sharpening my teeth, ready to get my eat on and go down there and chow out. I mean, I love, you know, the pickle guys are down there. I've been to the place down in Brooklyn back in the day. It's just a one-stop shop, and we're going to make a day of it. You know, we'll bring P3. You know, he's sharpening his teeth as well. We'll have a little fun. But I just love how Rowan was able to figure out a way to keep everyone on the straight and narrow, keep the finances straight, and be able to not only reopen, he has reopened bigger and better than the first time. So everyone, make sure you get down to the Lower East Side, 115 Delancey Street. Check out the Market Line. Get your eat on. And as I said in the interview, everyone, make sure you also go out and about and speak to all your different friends, and make sure you go out and patronize all the local eateries, clothing shops, all your mom and pop stores, wherever you live, because they are the true fabric of the community. All right, everyone. Well, once again, TikTok. It just goes so fast, right, Sin?
Oh my, I can't believe, I'm telling you, the weekends are just flying and the time is just going so quick. But I'm excited. New week. Hopefully the humidity is down and we have like an amazing
I thought I saw Tuesday in the 90s. I don't know about the humidity, but I'm sure it's going to be hot in here. Hey, you know what? This is the summer. Come winter time, everyone's going to be crying. It's cold. It's rainy. It's wet. It's icy. Listen. Let's not complain about that. We'll rock and roll with the heat. All right, everyone. Well, this is Big Fat Joey. Big Fat Joey Show. Biggest thing on radio here with Sin, reminding everyone to make every sandwich count. Peace.